Well, as you are well aware, this is a presidential election year, but you'll also be voting for every member of the U.S. House of Representatives. Louisiana has 6 members of the House and 2 senators, all who vote on agricultural issues. That's why it's important that the people who grow our food take time to speak with the men and women who vote on laws affecting our food. TWILA's Avery Davidson takes us to Washington, D.C. to show us Louisiana Young Farmers and Ranchers making their rounds on Capitol Hill.
You are likely very familiar with this view of the U.S. Capitol, a scene from the outside. But this is how a group of 9 Louisiana Farm Bureau young farmers and ranchers got to see Capitol Hill, from the halls and offices of the men and women who vote on their behalf. Robert Duncan is a farmer and rancher in Rapides Parish.
I feel like we've had a really positive reception from everybody we've met with. We've met with some of the delegations, some of the staffers. It's been a very positive trip so far, and I feel like we've made somewhat of an impact on some of the things we've been talking about.
Louisiana Senator Dr. Bill Cassidy took time between votes to meet with the young farmers and ranchers in the U.S. Capitol, where he touted the recent trade victories with China and Japan.
But there's also some issues that we discussed today. Rural broadband, which I've learned is important not only for the conducting of farming, modern day farming, but also important for schools. You want your children to be educated. It could be important for telemedicine. It could be important just to enjoy life. And so we're working hard on rural broadband.
U.S. Congressman Dr. Ralph Abraham, a farmer himself, took a more holistic approach to the issues of rural broadband, healthcare, labor, and trade.
Look, they're all important, because if you take one out of the mix, then that farm can't run. If you don't have labor to harvest, to plant, to take care and grow during the growing season, if you don't have trucks to pull them out, if you don't have somewhere to market your product with trade, then any part of that puzzle missing, they lose their business. So they are all critically important, and I don't think one's more important than the other, because you got to have them all to make a living.
Aside from meeting with members of Congress and their staffs, these young farmers and ranchers also went to the U.S. Department of Agriculture to speak with the people who write the rules based on the laws passed at the Capitol. Casey and Derek Luckett grow produce in West Feliciana Parish. Speaking face-to-face with Undersecretary Bill Northey meant a lot to them.
On our farm, we've had, issues and flooding and trying to get funding or use the WIP program on our farm, which is a different farm than a lot of the other commodities. In produce, it's a little bit challenging or a little bit harder to get those funds. And so it was good to meet with USDA and talk to them about what's working for us and maybe what needs a little bit more tweaking.
When you come to DC and you sit in a room with 3 undersecretaries that all say, I have on-farm experience, it broadens their world. It opens up their mind to understand that there are people, bureaucrats that they're often called back home, that truly are just a fellow American trying to help and trying to work to make things better.
For Calcasieu Parish farmers Brandon and Danielle Vale, as well as Manny cattlewoman Megan Cook, it's a chance for them to see how the process works.
I've really enjoyed the trip. It's a lot of insight, a little depth insight on where we are going far as senators and representatives and how they relate to us, and we can relate to them and tell them our personal stories and just give them a better understanding of what we are going through in Southwest Louisiana.
We have a voice, and they're hearing what we have to say. So they know what's going on back in little old Manny, Louisiana.
And that voice is strong in the big building up on the hill. In Washington, D.C., I'm Avery Davidson for This Week in Louisiana Agriculture.
The Louisiana Farm Bureau Young Farmers and Ranchers make a trip to our nation's capital every year. If you'd like to learn more about the Young Farmers and Ranchers program, visit our website at twilatv.org.